The planet Kalora burned under twin suns, its skies a swirl of orange and violet. The ground cracked and smoked like the world itself was wounded. Jagged mountains cut the horizon, and rivers of molten metal wound through the valleys. Amid this chaos, human explorer Captain Aiden Kane landed his small scout ship, the horizon's edge, on a plateau high above the main settlement. Aiden was tall, lean and calm in ways most humans would call unnerving. His brown eyes, sharp and alert, scanned the alien landscape. He had visited many worlds, but Kalora felt different, dangerous, yet strangely alive. His mission was simple: observe, gather information, and stay unseen. Humans were not supposed to interfere with alien conflicts, but even as he reminded himself of that rule, something small and fragile caught his attention. A faint sound, like a whisper carried on the hot wind, drew him to a rocky outcrop. There, crouched behind jagged stone, was a child, or at least a creature shaped like one. Its skin shimmered silver in the sunlight, almost like liquid metal. Its eyes were wide and luminous, the color of deep seawater filled with fear. The child was surrounded by strange, insect-like soldiers. They moved with sharp precision, their bodies armored and their weapons glowing with energy. The child trembled as one of them stepped closer. Aiden's pulse quickened. He could not leave it. He took a deep breath and activated his stealth suit, which rendered him almost invisible. Moving quietly, he crept toward the group. Timing his movements with the shifting shadows, he found a clear line to the child. The alien soldiers did not notice him yet, but he knew they would. Humans were unpredictable, and Kalora's inhabitants were not used to them. Aiden whispered to the child, "It's okay. I won't let them hurt you." The child looked up, eyes wide in disbelief. Its small hands reached toward him, and a trembling nod followed. Aiden acted quickly. He tossed a small smoke grenade from his pack. The device hissed, then erupted in thick violet smoke. The soldiers hissed in confusion, their advanced senses struggling to see through it. "Run!" Aiden shouted, grabbing the child. It was light, almost weightless, but its grip was tight around his arm. Together, they dashed across the rocky plateau. The alien soldiers tried to follow, but the smoke hid them. Sparks flew as energy weapons hit the rocks, sending fragments into the air. They reached a narrow canyon. Aiden paused, listening. The soldiers were still behind, but slowed by the thickening smoke. He looked at the child. Its breathing was fast, small chest rising and falling in panic. "Stay close. Don't let go," he said firmly, his voice calm but commanding. The child nodded again, clutching his arm with both hands. Aiden led the way through the canyon, using every trick he knew, jumping over crevices, sliding under fallen rocks, even running along narrow ledges where only someone light on their feet could follow. The smoke faded behind them, giving the soldiers less cover. Finally, they reached a hidden cave just big enough for the two of them. Aiden collapsed against the wall, catching his breath. The child stared at him, eyes still wide but now filled with awe. "You saved me?" It whispered in a musical voice. "I did. You're safe now," Aiden replied, though he knew it wasn't fully true. Kalora was far from safe, and their troubles were only beginning. The child's name came to him instinctively. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lyra," the child said softly. "All right, Lyra. Stay close. I'm Aiden. We'll get through this." Lyra nodded, but the fear in her eyes remained. Aiden could feel it. She was being hunted for a reason he did not yet understand. But one thing was clear. She was important, and he could not let her die. Not on his watch. Hours passed as they moved through the rugged landscape. The twin suns began to set, casting long shadows across the red rocks. Aiden found a shallow alcove where they could rest for the night. He set up a small energy shield to hide them from aerial surveillance. As they sat together, Lyra finally spoke. "Why do you help me?" Aiden smiled faintly, a small warmth in the middle of the harsh terrain. "Because someone has to. And because no one deserves to be hunted like this." She tilted her head, curious. "You are human?" "Yes," he said. "And yes, humans are different. But sometimes being different is an advantage." She seemed to ponder this, then fell silent, exhaustion overtaking her fear. Aiden kept watch through the long night, his mind racing with questions. Who were the soldiers? Why were they after her? And most importantly, how could he get her to safety? By dawn, the desert-like winds had calmed, but the danger had not. Aiden scanned the horizon and saw them. More soldiers forming a line that cut through the valley below. He knew there was no way to outrun them. They were too fast, too well equipped. He needed a plan. Aiden led Lyra to a narrow cliff path barely wide enough for two. The soldiers would have to follow slowly, giving them a chance to escape. As they climbed, Aiden scanned for anything he could use. A jagged rock formation ahead seemed ideal. "Trust me," he said as he set up a simple human trap using stones and wires from his pack. "When they come, they'll never see it coming." Hours later, the soldiers arrived. Their glowing weapons hummed in anticipation. Aiden waited, crouched behind a rock with Lyra pressed against his back. As the first soldier stepped onto the rigged path, a chain reaction sent rocks tumbling down. The soldiers shouted, slipping and sliding, trying to keep balance. "Run!" Aiden shouted again. They sprinted down the cliffside, the soldiers struggling behind. By the time the dust settled, Aiden and Lyra were far ahead, disappearing into a grove of crystalline trees that shimmered in the sunlight. They stopped to catch their breath. Lyra looked at him, awe and gratitude in her eyes. You saved me again." Aiden shook his head. "We're not out of danger yet, but we're getting there." From the treetops, a pair of glowing eyes watched them. Aiden noticed too late. Something enormous stirred in the shadows, a creature far larger than any normal predator. Lyra gasped in fear. Aiden stepped protectively in front of her. "Stay behind me." The creature leapt forward, claws extended, but Aiden moved with speed and precision. Using a combination of human agility and clever traps, he managed to drive it away, sending it crashing into the trees. Lyra clung to him, trembling but safe. As the sun rose fully, Aiden knew they had survived the first day, but Kaelora had many more challenges ahead. Somewhere, the queen of this land had likely learned of the child's survival, and she would not ignore the human who dared interfere. Aiden looked down at Lyra. "We'll find safety. I promise. And I will not let anyone harm you." For the first time since he met her, Lyra smiled faintly, a small glimmer of hope in her shining eyes. Above them, unseen, a shadow moved, a pair of regal eyes, calculating and cold, watched the human who had dared protect the alien child. Queen Seraphine had taken notice, and in her mind a decision was forming, a decision that would bind Aiden to this alien world forever. But that was tomorrow's worry. For now, Aiden and Lyra had survived, and sometimes that was enough. The hum of the human ship's engines filled the cabin as Captain Elias Hart adjusted the controls, keeping a careful eye on Kale. The alien child sat on a reinforced bench staring out the viewport at the stars. His large reflective eyes followed the streaking light, but his expression was unreadable. Elias had spent years facing enemies, but nothing prepared him for the complexity of this small, silent observer. "Kyle," Elias said gently, kneeling beside the child. "You're safe now. We're far from Zithera." Kale tilted his head. A soft melodic sound escaped his lips, a word Elias didn't understand. He had heard snippets of the Zephyri language before, mostly from intercepted transmissions, but this was different. Kale's voice was hesitant, like a small bird testing the air. Elias smiled faintly. "I don't understand you yet." "That's okay. We'll learn together." The child nodded slowly, then pressed his small hand against a panel of the ship. The light shifted slightly beneath his touch. Elias noticed but said nothing, curious about Kale's abilities. Humans were adaptable, but there was something unusual about this child. His instincts were sharp and his awareness seemed beyond his years. For the next several hours, the ship moved through uncharted space. Elias kept Kale close, offering food, water, and quiet words of reassurance. Despite the chaos of war, he felt a strange calm. There was a bond forming, fragile but undeniable. He realized that in this child he saw not an enemy but potential, a chance to show compassion in a universe filled with conflict. "Do you miss your home?" Elias asked softly, more to himself than to Kale. The child did not answer at first. Then in broken syllables, Kale said a single word: "Mother." Elias's heart clenched. He understood now why Kale's eyes had filled with fear when the patrols had found him. This was not just a mission anymore. This was about protecting a life, teaching him trust, and perhaps changing the future of a war. Elias realized that humanity's strength was not just in weapons or strategy. It was in empathy, courage, and honor. As the ship traveled further from Zithera, Elias decided to teach Kale simple human words. "Safe," he said, pointing to the ship. "Friend," he said, pointing to himself. Kyle repeated slowly, stumbling over the sounds, but eventually managing a small, deliberate approximation. Elias felt a swell of pride. Every small success mattered. Every moment of trust was a victory. That night, Cale slept in a small cot near Elias's quarters. The captain remained awake, keeping watch. His mind wandered back to the first time he had seen the child huddled against the crystalline walls of Zithera. Fear, helplessness, but also hope. Humanity had always faced impossible odds, yet somehow it had persevered. Elias believed that courage and honor could cross species, break barriers, and even influence enemies. Suddenly, a soft hum filled the cabin. Elias turned sharply, hand on his weapon. Cale's eyes were open, glowing faintly in the dim light. The child's small fingers hovered above the cot, and the hum intensified. A panel on the wall flickered. Elias froze, realizing that Cale was causing it. Not with malice, but instinct, perhaps even curiosity. "Easy, Kyle," Elias said calmly. "You're safe. I'm here." Cale's glow faded, and he leaned back, letting out a soft, relieved sound. Elias studied him, wondering how much the child understood about his own abilities. The Scifi were advanced, but Cale was special, even among his own kind. Elias knew this might make them valuable, dangerous, and sought after. And yet, he felt an unshakable determination. He would protect the child no matter the cost. Days passed, and Elias taught Cale more words, more gestures, more ways to communicate. Cale proved to be quick, learning human concepts faster than Elias expected. He could point, respond to questions, and even express basic emotions. Elias found himself talking to the child as if he were human, recognizing the intelligence and curiosity behind those alien eyes. One evening, the ship's sensors detected movement nearby. Elias activated the shields and scanned the surrounding space. "We're not alone," he muttered. Cale crouched beside him, eyes alert. The child's instincts were sharp. He had sensed the approaching threat before the scanners picked it up. Elias knew immediately. The Scifi would not rest until Cale was returned. The mother, Commander Lyra, would search tirelessly. Her reputation among the Scifi was legendary. She was known as a relentless strategist, a mother who would move stars for her child. Elias's respect for her grew, even as he prepared for the inevitable confrontation. He trained Cale to stay calm, to hide, to trust in both instinct and human guidance. During these sessions, Elias noticed subtle signs of Cale's unique abilities. He could sense danger, react before threats appeared, and even manipulate small amounts of energy around him. Elias did not yet understand it, but he knew these gifts could change everything. If the wrong people discovered them, Cale could become a weapon or a target. Despite the danger, the bond between human and alien deepened. Elias shared stories of Earth, of humanity's struggles and triumphs. He spoke of courage, of resilience, of kindness in the face of adversity. Cale listened intently, absorbing every word, and in return, shared glimpses of Scifi culture, of honor, loyalty, and the deep connection between parent and child. Elias realized that empathy was universal. Even across species, it could bridge worlds. The tension of being hunted never fully left them. Patrols scanned space sectors, probes flew past their ship, and cryptic messages arrived via encrypted channels. Elias remained vigilant, teaching Cale to stay aware, to think critically, and to trust both his instincts and human guidance. Each encounter strengthened the child's understanding and reinforced Elias's resolve. One night, while Kyle slept, Elias reflected on his journey. He had always believed in humanity's strength, its courage, creativity, and moral compass, but now he saw it in action. Protecting Cale was more than a duty. It was a testament to what humans could achieve when guided by honor and compassion. Here, in the quiet of the cosmos, he was not just a soldier. He was a guardian, a teacher, and a bridge between worlds. Suddenly, the ship shook violently. Alarms blared. Elias grabbed Cale, securing him to a safety harness. The sensors lit up. A Scifi interceptor had locked onto their position. Elias pushed the ship to full speed, weaving through asteroid fields and dodging energy blasts. Cale's eyes glowed faintly as he instinctively extended his hands, and for a brief moment, a shield of energy flickered around them, deflecting one of the incoming blasts. Elias's jaw tightened. He had trained Cale to be aware, but this was beyond anything he had anticipated. The child's abilities were real and they were powerful. He realized the magnitude of what he was protecting. Cale was not just a child. He was a force that could shift the balance of the war. And yet, to Elias, he was still just a child in need of protection. The interceptor broke off after a tense chase, retreating toward Zafari space. Elias exhaled deeply, holding Kale close. "You're safe," he whispered. The child leaned into him, exhausted but unafraid. Elias marveled at the trust forming between them. It was rare, precious, and worth every risk. By dawn, the tension eased. Kale slept again, and Elias maintained his watch, knowing the journey ahead would only become more dangerous. He prepared for the next leg of their voyage, plotting courses, checking weapons, and maintaining shields. All the while, he reflected on the lessons this child had taught him: bravery, empathy, and the unyielding strength of the human spirit. Kale stirred. Blinking up at Elias, he said a word, broken but clear. "Friend." Elias smiled, feeling a warmth he hadn't experienced in years. "Yes," he replied, "friend. And protector, always." The galaxy was vast and the war was far from over. But in this small ship between human and alien, a new bond had formed, a bond that could challenge enemies, defy expectations, and perhaps change the course of a conflict that spanned the stars. Elias' heart tightened his grip on the controls. Kyle was not just a child. He was hope, a symbol of what humanity could offer: courage, compassion, and the unbreakable will to protect life, no matter the cost. And together they would face the future, one star at a time.